In this presentation, you're going to be learning about how to get involved with the entertainment industry, how to meet some of the biggest names in the world. We're not going to be throwing you in at the deep end. The idea is this, is that I run a course in Oxford. It's free if you've got an OX postcode, and the concept is this. We understand that if you're going to learn to swim, you have to start in the shallow end first and then move out deep. Everybody who is involved in looking to get involved with the entertainment industry, at some point or another, you're going to have to create an IP. So you're going to be thinking about what your album cover is going to look like. You're going to be thinking about what you as an artist, in terms of the way in which you present yourself to the planet, looks like, both mentally and visually. So with all of that, you're going to be involved with, whether you know or not, the IP creation process. And so the very process that you're going through with creating your album is the very process that will take place with a number of artists around the world. But record labels do not have these types of services available in the new way that they've had to be set up because of the digital revolution. Now, in 2012, this book, written by me, was published, and a couple of days ago, I received a phone call from a very interesting person who said, Derek, I need your help, and somebody that I know. Somebody's got a lot of money, they want to set up a TV station. Now, the point that I'm making here is this. This was the thing that actually, well, this is part of what I'm going to be using as the tools to sell to that TV station investor the way in which this TV station should be setting itself up for the future. The BBC and CNN, two of the biggest brands in the world, have joined forces because of the digital revolution, because it's changed all of the rules. Everywhere that you go in media, so that's television, radio, newsprint, book publishing, and the music business and films, everything that is involved with communication has changed because $1 trillion a year is rewiring the world, and that's the industry, that's the environment of the industry that you're stepping into. If you come to Oxford, whether you're from New York or you're from London, if you come to Oxford and you take a dip in one of the courses that I'm putting together, you can get involved in the entertainment industry within about 6 weeks. And the reason for that is really simple to understand. I've just finished teaching a 6-week course in Oxford. Very enlightening for both myself and the students. Why? Because I was looking to teach the course at a very certain level with a very certain set of dynamics. And part of what I was going to be using in the way in which I was going to be training the people was an understanding that they can start filling out stadiums like the one behind me. Elton John did a gig here a number of years ago as a kind of dry run event. But the point that's being made here is this, is that filling out stadiums is part of the way in which you as an artist, as a band, need to know how to do, because that's part of the way in which major labels, major music companies can make an assessment about how to invest in you. Now, what you don't have to do is write a book. I wrote a book, and as a result of that book, the book is going out there and creating an interest for what I do because people understand the way I think, okay? I got a phone call, I said, last weekend, from somebody who knows me, and we had to do a it was a rush hour job because he needed to put together a proposal for somebody who was looking to put in the money to set up a TV station. Now, you don't have to learn how to set up TV stations. All you need to do as an artist is know how to be involved in the creation of you as an IP. You're already doing it, but I'm going to give you the official term for what you do when you put together your album, your image, and all of those things. If you know how to put together an IP and use the right words to describe the service that you're involved with, and now I've called it a service, you're doing it for yourself, but I'm going to show you how to do it for other people at a high level, you can get involved in the entertainment industry. Now, what that means is this. Without having to put together an album, without having to go on tour, without having to enroll in a music industry class, in other words, without having to go and get a university degree, which is what some people are doing to get educated in the world of arts, you can become somebody who can start speaking to people in the entertainment industry at whatever level is necessary. And for as long as you are involved with me as part of the Rewind group, you're going to have the ability to meet anyone who is anybody in the world of music because you'll have the skills to do it. All I'm doing is taking something you already do and giving it a title and showing you how to use that, your ability to put together ideas, so that you can then get in contact with anybody who is anyone in the entertainment industry. Now, here's where it gets better. You get paid for the process of finding the record deal that you're after. because for as long as it takes you to get the record deal is as long as you can be involved in the IP creation process, and as long as you're doing that, you can be somebody who can get a job with somebody in a major label. So with that, I'm going to bring this opening of this presentation to a close. Watch the montage. You'll see a couple of images. Every band that is on this image or that is in the montage was shot by me, but the point that I'm making is this: 97% of all people that try to get a record deal fail. The reason why they fail is because they haven't got the money to actually launch themselves as a band or an artist. You'll see the report that I'm going to cover later on in the presentation, where it speaks about how the major labels already know that it doesn't matter whether you've got a deal or you haven't got a deal, whether you're online or offline. It takes a major label $1 million to launch a band with the hope that that band or artist is going to become something in the mainstream. $1 million. You can't escape that price tag. Now, there are a few people that seem to make it and slip through the cracks. There's the lucky one or two that are able to gain a big profile online, but by and large, that just isn't the way to do it. Now, I'm involved with a process, as said before, where I'm helping somebody set up a TV station. The TV station, in terms of investment, is multiple millions. You only go to people who know what they're doing to help you, to assist you in a process. You're trying to get on television. You're not really trying to, how would I put it? You're not trying to set up a TV station. You want to be on television. You want to be an artist who is part of the mainstream zeitgeist of what is taking place in the world today. The way to do that is to understand IP development from the perspective of what is it that TV stations are looking to cover, what is it that reporters are looking to cover, what is it that music labels are looking to not only cover but actually buy into. Now, with that being said and done, we understand that not everybody who is looking to create an IP out of themselves is going to do a good job. Some people may be better at doing IP creation for other people. So you can live in two worlds. World one is that you as an artist, a hopeful artist, a hopefully signed artist, has everything that is necessary for a major label to look at you and say, wow, this band, this artist is going to be able to fill out these types of stadiums. If we sign them up now, we know we can invest in them. So you might be one of those. You might be someone who has a desire to be involved with a band. You may be an artist, and you might find that you're not really one of the people that is at the top of the food chain, because competition for signing the right type of artist now is fierce. Now, well, I want to get rid of a myth. Let's dispel a myth. The myth has been that it's hard to get a record deal. No. The truth is that getting a band or an artist who understands what is necessary to become an IP is difficult. But in the world of music, they don't really use that term. You're just hoping to find someone who's signable and their music becomes an IP. It gets on all the databases where people are making films, can find their tracks if it's suitable for inclusion in a film soundtrack, and so you earn sync rights from it. Now, don't want to go off on a tangent because I want to make this splash introduction as short as possible. The point that I am drawing you to is this. If you learn how to fill out stadiums, if you can become an IP, or just understanding how the IP process is done, then you as a band or an artist can make it. And what I've decided to do after teaching the 6 weeks at Oxford, because that's where we're based, after teaching the 6-week course in Oxford, what I'm doing now is I have changed the dynamic. So everybody who has gone on the first 6-week course, everybody's been happy. But what we have done is this. I have changed it so that everybody who comes on the course has a fair chance of getting access to the entertainment industry by changing the rules. In the opening, you're going to hear me speak about this thing called 6 for a 9. But what I've done is simply this, with an understanding that every band or artist has to have a way in which they're presented. That is the IP creation process in action. And that process takes time in exactly the same way that it takes time to record an album. Coming up with the image that is going to suit a band or an artist is also a process. And you can get paid for putting that process together in exactly the same way that I can get paid for helping people put together a proposal for a TV station or anything else that is covered in this book, because where we are now is that we're now in a world where people can get in contact with up to 1 billion people from a smartphone if you understand the technologies and the systems that are going to make that whole engine work. But the people that can't afford it are the bands and artists that don't have the support of a major music company behind them to make those engines work. So what I'm going to be advising you guys to do very strongly, having seen a number of bands and artists over the years who are good enough, who never made it, is this: come to the course, learn how to become an IP, and with that, get inside the music industry so that you're in an environment where people can spot your talent and invest in you the money that is needed to turn you into a mainstream brand. So with that, we're going to run the VT, and I'll see you on the other side when the presentation that takes place outside the Kassam Stadium begins. Roll VT. Hello, my name's Derek James and I'm the head of the Rewind Group, and we're here to speak about the entertainment business. Now, if you're from Oxford, then you know that there's a course in Oxford that is all about getting people into the entertainment industry in about 6 weeks' time, or in a 6-week time period. I have just finished, 2 weeks ago, doing a 6-week course at Oxford, teaching a 6-week course at Oxford, and the idea was to teach everybody who attended the course how to get into the entertainment industry in a 6-week time period. What I found out when doing the course was that the majority of the attendants wanted to learn about the entertainment industry, but they weren't kind of ready. Some people had albums that they were still looking to finish that were in post-production. Some people said, oh, my album's not going to be ready for about another how many weeks, or maybe 2 months. There's some people that said, oh, my image isn't ready. Now, I still have the objective of putting together this idea of people being able to get behind the scenes in the entertainment industry for one reason and one reason only. In the entertainment world, you're either on the inside or the outside. It doesn't matter what you're doing. So let's just say at this stadium, you knew Elton John was going to be playing here in, 4 weeks' time. Ed Sheeran is managed by Elton John's management company. So if you're a band or an artist, you meeting Elton John would be important, because you might have a promo DVD, a promo CD that you want to give Elton or his people, because if Elton's managing artists, then you might be one of the artists that you want. You might be one of the artists that is looking for an inroad with a career prospect that is as big as somebody like Elton John giving a platform to an Ed Sheeran having. Okay, now with that all being said, with that all being understood, with you understanding that you want to be in the entertainment world, meeting people in the game is the only thing that counts. So the reason why I've got this course, which is all about entering the entertainment industry within a 6-week period, is because if you can get behind the scenes in the entertainment industry, everything else can then take place in its own natural order. Now, with an understanding that Elton John, as our example, has a management company, and if you knew that Elton John was going to be here in 4 weeks' time, it wouldn't matter what form of music you're involved with. Rap, hip-hop, R&B, country, we can go on. You getting in front of Elton John or people like him is all that counts, for one reason only. Elton's got the contacts, Elton's in the business, Elton's in there. So the reason why you want to be on the inside of the industry, not on the outside, is because you want to take advantage of every potential opening that could turn up, that could be on your doorstep in 2 weeks. Now, here's the concept. I started this course with the idea, or I put together this course in Oxford with the idea that it would be an international course, because if you could get behind the scenes in the entertainment industry and meet anybody who is anyone, whether it be Elton John or someone that is going to be more specific to the genres of music that you're involved with, then that inroad is all that counts. Now, I don't want to repeat things that I've said in the rest of the recordings that have already been done, because this is the introduction. Today is Tuesday, the 1st of August, okay, and we have come to the end of this 6-week course. It's been 2 weeks over, and what I'm now doing with all of the artists, all of the people that are at the course, was I'm now doing one-on-one sessions, and there's a reason why I'm doing these one-on-one sessions. When I taught people who came to the course, it was understood that they all had the ambition of being involved with some aspect of the entertainment industry. In the world of any art form or any job, there's a thing called the hidden jobs market. And what the hidden jobs market is this. 75% of all jobs that will ever be available, 75% of all jobs that will ever be available are never going to be advertised. In other words, let's just say now you live in, I don't know, let's just say you live in New York and there was a job in London. The local newspaper that you read in New York isn't going to give you access to the jobs that are in London, because that is not what your local publications are going to cover. Those are not the type of adverts that are going to be in a local publication that is obviously close to you. You may then decide that you're going to go online to look for these jobs. So you're going to be going online to London newspapers, looking online to find a job in London based on what you think is available in the online world. Problem: 75% of all jobs that are ever going to be available are not going to be advertised. So that means that everything that you're doing in New York to find out about a job in London that is not going to be advertised in a local newspaper or going to be advertised online, everything that you're doing in New York is not going to help you. Why? Because one, there is a physical distance between London and New York, but outside of that physical distance, you've also got proximity. In other words, in this stadium, there are people who are cleaners. In this stadium, there's a guy that drives the cleaning truck outside the stadium to make sure that the car park is tidy for the next day's people that are going to turn up, okay? But the cleaner or the cleaners of this stadium and the guy that drives the cleaning truck would have a better chance of meeting Elton John than you would, even though they're not musicians. Why? Because they're in close proximity to Elton John turning up here in 2 weeks' time. Now, I want you to think about this. A number of years ago, Elton John did play here as a venue. He was doing a dry run tour, and the idea was that he was using this stadium as a place where he could test run some bigger ideas. So it was a stadium, smaller scale, not one of the big concerts that he's going to do. So this isn't the type of venue that U2 or Coldplay would turn up at, but it's a good venue for people to learn how to fill out stadiums as a band or an artist. Now, throughout this presentation, you're going to hear me speak about a thing called IP, or should I say the next three presentations. You're going to hear me speak about a thing called an IP. And an IP is a short for intellectual property. Now, most people, when they're in today's world, most people are running around with the idea that they can use an album, i.e. something like this, as a means by which they can start trying to sell themselves online. So they're making music with the hope that the music that they are going to make is enough to get them an inroad into the industry. But again, I want you to imagine this. You're a cleaner working at this stadium, and as a cleaner working at this stadium, you know that Elton John's going to be here in 4 weeks' time. Even if you had the roughest of demos recorded in your garage on a recorder that isn't that sophisticated, if Elton John physically had your CD, and because you knew that you could meet him in 4 weeks' time, and your CD was simply a demo, Elton would go, okay, when that's done, I know that that's going to be good stuff. I want to release that on my label. I want to introduce you to my people because you're a band or an artist that I want to sign. Hope that all makes sense, okay? So I'm not working with people from the premise of, or when I started the course 6 weeks ago, well, 8 weeks ago now, 2 weeks over, we're now in the one-on-ones period. When I started the course 8 weeks ago, with an understanding that this has been something that I've been working on for a while. The idea was that any band or artist could turn up and find out how they could get into the entertainment industry with an understanding that there's this thing called the hidden jobs market, where really what you want to be doing is working behind the scenes in the entertainment industry so that you have got the ability to meet people like Elton John and many more like him at that level, who may have management companies that you don't know about, hidden jobs market, who may have production companies that you don't know about, hidden jobs market, who may have all of these openings that you can be involved with. And once you're involved with those openings, you can then work your way forward and you're being paid at the same time. Working as a cleaner in London when you want to try and meet people in New York makes no sense. Working as a cleaner in a stadium where bands come across you every week is better. Right now, that's not the premise that we're working from, but what has turned up as a result of me doing this 6-week course where I'm training people how to get involved in the entertainment industry was I was meeting a lot of people who kind of like weren't ready yet. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. When you are developing an IP, so Harry Potter the book is an IP, all right? Star Wars is an IP. R2-D2 is an IP. Darth Vader as a character in Star Wars is an IP. Selena Gomez, she is an IP. Anybody, now we're going to explain all of this later on, so you can listen to the whole 3 and a bit hours worth of recording, so that you understand how that all works. But everybody who has a position in the entertainment industry is an IP, and they have different business models. Now, if I showed you the numeral 6, you understand what the 6 is. But if I said I can show you how to turn a 6 into something that has more value, you would scratch your head. Now, if all I do is turn the number upside down, the 6 becomes a 9. It's exactly the same in shape, but if you turn it on its head, it is worth more money. Now, most of you guys that are involved with the music business or aspiring to be involved with the music business are playing what I would call 6 cards. In other words, you're doing things, but it's not quite enough to get you to where you want to go. So if I said, well, do it like this, and you now have a 9 card, it's the same resources with some additional benefits and additional value that the music industry is going to look at, okay? Now, with all of that being said, if you are involved in the IP creation business, then what now takes place is you actually have a skill that you can sell into the entertainment industry. And I'm going to explain it like this. You might not want to be an IP creation specialist for a whole group of ideas. So if we look at the Marvel universe, Stan Lee is the guy that has given us all of these superhero characters. So we've got the Guardians of the Galaxy, we've got Spider-Man, we've got Wolverine, we've got all of the X-Men. All of that creativity came out of Stan Lee's brain, okay? And so he's got all of these various super agents, super powered meta-humans is what they call them in the DC universe. But you've got all of these various characters that have all been devised, created, directed by Stan Lee, and they all turned up in their first incarnation in comic books. Some of these comic book characters are over 50, 60 years of age. They're now coming to the big screen because the technology to make those characters real life is here. Back in the 1950s and 60s, making Spider-Man look the way he is now was impossible. The technology to do it wasn't here. Now, in like manner, I want you to imagine that you're a band, you're an artist that wants to make it in the music industry. The only people that know about you are the people that know about you locally, because you may be someone that gigs locally and we can go on. But if you could turn your music activity into a 9 activity, so everything that you're doing locally is a 6 activity, but if you could turn it into a 9 activity, then you being able to sell out stadiums like this is possible. Why? Because that's part of an IP development process. Now, what I don't want to do in this part of the presentation or in this opening video is speak about subjects that are covered in the other videos. So you've got about 3.5 hours worth of listening. But here's where now I'm going to refer to my notes. Capitol Records in America, okay, is one of the biggest record labels in the world. The music industry, because it has gone through some changes, is finding it not so much difficult to manage those changes, but we're now in a different world. So I want you to imagine the changes that are taking place in the music industry from the premise of trying to find a 6 that has value as a 9, okay? You as an artist, you as a band, I'm talking about how as an IP you move from being a 6 to a 9. It's the same. Was Lady Gaga any different to the way she is now to when she started out? No. But what's happened is, because of the resources that she now has around her, she can become, or she is, one of the biggest performing artists in the world, can sell out stadiums like this in hours because she's got over 80 million social media fans. So she's in a position that you're not in, but you want to be in. Now, as a project, you happen to be working on a 6 to a 9 process. In other words, if you're a band, you want an image, you're going to want the way in which you look like, and all of these things that are in development. And a number of the artists that I was talking to and speaking with in the 6-week course have images, they have ideas, they know how they're going to be projected. So if we think of say David Bowie, we understand that David Bowie was somebody that was a chameleon. He had various ways in which he would present himself. But the point is, David Bowie as an IP still has value. Why? Because people are still buying his albums, people are using his music in their soundtracks, and we can go on. And David Bowie is part of a music industry catalog that if somebody is doing a film soundtrack, for instance, and they want a soundtrack that is going to have certain characteristics, then David Bowie's music is part of a huge music industry database that somebody can search up and say, I'm looking for a love song that speaks about space, that speaks about so on, and then they just type in the characteristics of the song that they're looking for, maybe with the genre. So let's just say it's going to be rock. Let's just say it's going to be R&B. Let's say it's going to be a house, a garage track, whatever the genre is, country. And in that database, David Bowie could turn up as a song for consideration in a soundtrack. In other words, it's not down to somebody with their mind scratching their head saying, I'm looking for a song. What's going to be the right song for this film that I'm putting together, or this documentary I'm putting together. David Bowie and others like him, people that have got publishing deals, people that have got record deals, have their music in databases where they can be found very easily. Why? Because their music is something that means something to maybe half of the planet. All right. So you think about it, when you're now looking at a film, or you're looking at a documentary and they're using certain music forms in that documentary, the reason why those music forms were chosen was simple, because they were part of a database. Now I want you to think about this. When you go online and you go into Google, you're going to search in Google for whatever it is that you happen to be looking for. But the only reason why Google works for you is because at the other end, there's somebody that set up a website that is offering that service specifically. So you finding the service that is on offer is dependent upon somebody at the other end saying, no, I'm going to set up my website, put my website online. And now, if you're looking for hotels in Oxford, if you're looking for hotels in New York, you can find the hotels in Oxford. You can find the hotels in New York, because those people put themselves online, okay? If you don't go online, you're not going to be found. That makes obvious sense. Now, in like manner, if you are not part of these music industry databases, as a case in point, if you're not part of a whatever it happens to be, people can't find you. It's not even a question of a needle in a haystack. You're not even in the haystack to begin with. The haystack is the database of music that exists where you can be found. Now, you all know this artist, Selena Gomez, okay? And it's all well and good looking at Selena Gomez and saying, I want a career like her. But what most people forget is the beginning part, that Selena Gomez was a Disney singer, like Justin Timberlake, like Britney Spears, and we can go on. What singers grow into post-Disney is really all about the creativity they have, but they have a different starting point to you. So you trying to emulate the success of Selena Gomez without having her starting point makes no sense. If you happen to be a Star Trek fan, so live long and prosper, if you happen to be a Star Trek fan and you look at this series 2, the special features in series 2, the DVD set, at the end of that, they have a number of shorts and interviews and so on, and how various actors got into roles. And you'll find that there are actors that have been in 1, 2, 3 Star Trek series. So they may have been in Deep Space Nine, they may have been in Star Trek, opposite or starring alongside or in the background of the original Star Trek cast, and now they're in Star Trek Voyager. And so some people have been in 1, 2, 3 different Star Trek franchises, but with all of the makeup on and them looking like an alien, you can't see who they are, which is why they've been able to move from franchise 1 to franchise 2 to franchise 3. But all of that, they're small parts in the entertainment industry. They were able to move from being a small player to maybe being a bigger player in a bigger franchise. So in other words, they were undercover, they were in masks. You couldn't see them, you didn't know it was them until they told you it was them. But they were in the vicinity of the producers and the directors who said, I'm coming up with another Star Trek idea, another Star Trek franchise, another Star Trek, and I think you would be good as a main character. But you can't be found if you're not in the vicinity. That's why I teach people how to get behind the scenes in the entertainment industry, because some position in the entertainment industry is better than others. Now, on Saturday, today's Tuesday, on Saturday I got a phone call around about 11, 12 o'clock, and somebody who I hadn't seen for a number of years, who I used to do some work with, wow, it's about 8 years ago now. He gave me a phone call. Now, I saw him about 2 years ago, but what I'm saying is I got to know him about eight years ago. Gave me a phone call, said, Derek, I need your help. I've got a deadline. The deadline is 12 o'clock tonight. What's going on? I've got to put together a proposal for a television station. They've got the money, they just want to see where the money's going to be spent. Can you turn up and can you? And it was like, so this guy was in a bit of a, not so much panic, he had a deadline that he was looking to me. I said, look, I've got some things that I'm doing now. Give me about 2-3 hours and I'll be with you. So 2-3 hours later, I was around the guy's house. We put, he gave me the backdrop to the TV station. And I sort of scratched my head. Well, I had a bit of a backdrop because obviously he gave me the phone call at 11:12 in the afternoon, and I didn't get to him till about 3:30. And what I did was, on my way to him, I stopped off and I drafted something with a bit of a proposal idea that I thought would suit the brief conversation that we had on the phone. I get to his house, he gives me some more information. I'm going, okay. I put my information on Google Docs. He's working on his part of the proposal. I'm working on my part of the proposal. So between 3:30 and about 11 o'clock, it's about 10:30 when we finish. I said, right, okay, this is everything that I can do. I've done all of this. We've got the pricings. We know how much this is going to cost. So we were doing pricings for vehicles, studio facilities, everything that it would take to set up a TV station, including the costs of the satellite broadcasting time for a year's worth of satellite broadcasting time. So that now, to be able to put that together, I had to have a backdrop. One, a relationship with the person that gave me the phone call in the first place. But two, he knew that I was able to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, which is why he phoned me. He didn't phone anybody else. He phoned me and said, Derek, I need some help doing X, Y, Z, because I've got to get this proposal in by midnight. Because the proposal in by midnight was really that it was going to the other part of the world, the other side of the planet, time difference and all of that kind of thing. And they had to get, now, if you're going to be investing a gazillion pounds or gazillion dollars in a TV station, you're not going to call in people to help you who can't do the work. All right. Now, the point that I'm making here is this, is that the entertainment industry is vast. Some people get paid for putting together proposals. Some people get paid for maybe helping raise the money for things. Some people get paid for, there are all different types of positions within the entertainment industry that you could occupy. Now, if you happen to be a singer or you're a band, whether you know it or not, i.e., can you see the 6 or the 9, whether you understand it or not, or whether someone's brought it to your attention or not, you're actually involved in the 6 to a 9 process. That's what an IP is. Why is it that people are going to come and see you at stadiums? Why is it that people are going to turn on the television station and look at you? Why is it that people are going to download your records? Why is it? All of that is an IP creation process. So part of what I am doing, and this is as a result of teaching. Now, the reason why I teach is because I don't teach at a college to make money, because they don't pay teachers enough. They just don't. I would make more money drafting TV proposals, television station creation proposals, than I would teaching. Of course I would. But the point is this, is that in teaching people, you get to meet people and you find out where they're at. And for me, there are some things I'm thinking, that's obvious. Well, of course it's obvious to me. It's kind of like this. If somebody is a doctor, it's understood that as a doctor, they will see people in a completely different way to the untrained eye. So when you walk in there with a cough and then they tell you you've got meningitis, it's because they have a better diagnostic skill than you do. You just think it's a cough and a sore throat. They're telling you, no, it's something else. And in like manner, the way in which I operate in the entertainment industry is kind of, there's high-end, i.e. how can you set up TV stations? Then there's the other end where it's not a question of low end. There's the end where you are showing people this is how you set yourself up to become an IP in the entertainment industry. Now, it doesn't matter whether you are an established artist, i.e., so I'm going to use David Bowie to illustrate a point, ground control to Major Tom. It doesn't matter whether you're an established artist like David Bowie, who's obviously since died, or you're someone that's new and you're an up-and-coming artist. Your issue is the same as David Bowie's. What is it that I'm going to do that's going to make me distinct? And in that question and answer process, you're actually looking to create an IP. Now, part of what I have decided to do to ensure that bands and artists get involved in the entertainment industry in 6 weeks is to make IP development a part of the process that I am selling to music labels. Now, The music business has gone through a big change, and one of the big changes that the music business has gone through and experienced where they're not part of the process is this understanding that the world has all gone download. And in this where the whole world has gone download, the business that the music industry is now in is not the same as it was 60 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. A guy by the name of Steve Jobs invented this thing called the iPhone and the iPod and iTunes, and now you can download music anywhere in the world. And with that downloaded music, if you've got an iPod, you can download music straight to your listening device. But all of those innovations, all of that innovation of iTunes and the iPod didn't come from the music industry. It came from somebody who was outside of the music industry, who was in the computer business, understand that the music industry had a problem because people weren't buying CDs and albums anymore. They weren't buying these. They were looking to get rid of things, download them, and then put them on their phone. So Steve Jobs said, well, why don't I build the player and set up the service where you can download the tracks from? The music industry didn't think of that. Now, again, here is Tower Records. No, sorry, here's Capitol Records, one of the biggest record labels in the world. And Capitol Records is a label that is well over 60, 70, the company's over 70 years of age. So when they were set up, Capitol Records was not set up to be part of the digital age that it's in now. And part of the digital age that we're in now has moved into this idea of bands and artists being IPs. And again, I don't really want to repeat what is being said in other parts of the presentation, but the point that I'm making is this, is that just as the iPhone and the iPod and iTunes is not part of the music industry when it was conceived, but it is now, you being an IP creative is a part of the music industry. So if you can't afford, which you can't and you don't need anyway, if you can't afford a stylist, somebody who's going to come up with your ideas, in other words, if you can't afford for somebody to be involved in your David Bowie creation process, Bob Marley was an IP. It just happened to be that his IP was based in his Rastafarianism, not in someone saying, oh, Bob, I think you should do this and I think you should wear these type of clothes and I think you should. Okay, so the way in which something becomes an IP is broad, but you are the best expert in you. All right, I'm not the best expert in you. There's a girl by the name of Jennifer. I'm going to be making some music videos with her. I came across Jen quite by accident. You'll hear about her story some other time. But the point is this: one day I saw Jennifer in the street dressing very kind of like hippie-esque, and I'm going, oh, that's what she's about. And from that, I've given her a mood board. I've got a number of ideas for mood boards. I've been shooting video shorts where she can see the scenes where if she was dressed in a certain way and she was in this particular venue or in this particular spot, this would look good for her as a music video. It would suit her image. So the whole point is this: whether you've got a team of people helping you create your IP, your image, the way in which you're going to be sold, Lady Gaga, blah, 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 or you're somebody that can do it all on your own, IP creation is part of what you're doing now. It doesn't matter whether you're starting out as an artist or you're somebody that's established. You're always going to be part of this IP development world. You're always going to be coming up with new albums, new concepts, and we can go on. But the idea is this: I can get people behind the scenes in the entertainment industry, whether you are a singer as a band, being an IP creative because you already are one. The moment that you say that you want to be on stage, you're an IP creative. It just happens to be that because of some of the things that I'm doing, like helping people set up TV stations, shooting music videos, I'm involved with virtual reality and artificial intelligence systems that are going to be able to help people with news agendas and so on. Because I happen to be involved with all of those things, my ability to walk through the door and take you with me is easier than anybody else in the world, I think. Again, if somebody else can match that, then fine, they can go. I'm just making the statement with the hope that nobody can better it. But what you do know is this: whether you happen to be a country music artist who, like Shania Twain, doesn't live in Nashville, she lives in Sweden. She didn't want to have anything to do with the Nashville scene. And so we can see that you can be located in another part of the world, i.e. Shania Twain, Sweden, and still have a country music career based in Nashville, because the world now is international. Now I'm going to bring this presentation to a close because, in a nutshell, the music business as we know it has changed. And As an IP creative, you as a band, you as an artist, can be in front of some of the biggest people in the world. You may not be looking to create a set of images for people, you know, as broad as, in terms of a creative spectrum, Stan Lee, where you've got all of these characters with all of these different identities. Really all you're doing is working on your identity. But the point that I'm making here is this, is that going through an IP vehicle, you don't have to turn up at a stadium where Elton John is going to be playing in 2 weeks with a CD that's ready. You can turn up to Elton John with a CD or an image, an IP that is in development, and you can say, I've got this idea for an artist, or we've got ideas for artists, we've got the technology that can get these bands and artists in front of a bazillion fans. And here are the bands and artists that we think you should be looking at because they're all in development. Now, what that statement just means is this, is that whether you are somebody who is just starting out in music and your album's not going to be ready for 4, 5, 6 months, or you're someone who's a bit more seasoned and you are now ready to be launched into the world as a fully fledged Lady Gaga or Rihanna or Beyonce, whatever it happens to be, you can start entering the entertainment industry from the premise that you're working in the world of IP development. Now, that IP development isn't the same as sweeping the streets. It isn't the same as using the sweeper that is used in the car parks here, or being someone that is cleaning out the stalls in a stadium. It's not that. But if you are somebody who is around the entertainment industry, then what it means is, like these people who were involved in some Star Trek projects many years ago, who've been able to move from franchise to franchise because the director and the producer said that person would work well in this role, that person, and if that person wore this outfit instead of that outfit, then nobody would know who they are. Do you understand? In other words, you need to be in an arena where people can see you, and whether or not you are ready to move into the entertainment industry now as a full-fledged artist, or you're somebody that's in development, you can get paid for being in that development process as somebody who is thinking about images of the way in which people look. It just happens to be that the main image that you're thinking about at this present moment in time as an unsigned artist happens to be yours. So with that, we're going to bring this to a close with an understanding that I run this course in Oxford, the hidden jobs market, that specializes in the music industry, the film industry. But for you guys, it's all about the music business at this present moment in time. And you can get behind the scenes in the entertainment industry. You come to the 6-week course. It doesn't matter whether you live in Oxford, London, you live in New York, Nashville, who cares? But you can get to meet us, you can get to come to the courses, you can get to start meeting people in the entertainment industry, and if they're on a tour somewhere near you, then you can actually meet those people on line of route. Anyway, I've said enough. That's the introduction. Look at the other videos that are part of this presentation. So this is Derek James signing off. Thank you for your time, your interest. Look to see you guys soon.